So a lot of people in America sort of assume that Europe follows our lead, and I don't think that's the case. Because I've always seen Europe as just kind of paying lip service to America and then doing their own thing. Because I think in many ways Europeans still see America as being the little crazy foster child of Europe.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think it's a grass is greener type scenario. I think that a lot of Europeans, especially the younger ones, like to idolize America. It's cool. There's like fashion and movies and all that sort of stuff. Pop culture is, America is kind of king at that. But in terms of how they live their life, no, I don't think that, especially you take people like the French people or the Germans, they don't like to be told what to do for different reasons. Germans like to be told what to do, but in Germany, in their own
yeah,
format,
yeah.
and they like
Germans
to
only
do it
like other Germans to tell them
a
what to
different
do.
way. Right. And France, they just put everyone under the guillotine. They do their own thing and they like it that way.
Yeah,
And yeah, and no, they you can't say that people have let Americans influence the lifestyle really at all. Most people still don't have a microwave in their house here. That's just not a thing.
what they don't have microwaves in Germany?
Most people don't like them. Most people don't have them. Most
Huh.
people don't have full freezers. It's like a cooler box inside the fridge, but you know, it's a little bit old school.
Yeah, yeah.
You have gas in the street, but yet your stovetop is electric. You know, it's a lot of things like that, and
Interesting.
that's that's the way they choose to do it. There's some a lot of it isn't cultural either. It's just the way things were built and the way things were done. But they're not really letting themselves be influenced too much by what America has to say and think. Because yeah, America is for a lot of it considered to be kind of the wild child of the world.
Yeah. Well, and I think that in many ways, if you look at American politics right now, or just American politics over the last 20, 30 years, it seems that there's been a constant trend where American politicians want to sort of tame us. They want to kind of rein us in and get us to be more like Europe. And
Yeah.
and I don't think and I think a lot of the political problems that you see right now in America between rural and urban America is a lot of urban America idolizes Europe and wants to be more European, more structured, more authoritarian, and the rural Americans are like, fuck all of you guys, and they want to still be wild and crazy and do their own thing. And
Yeah.
uh, do you have that urban rural divide in Europe as well, or is it? But Europe is so much more densely packed than America.
Yeah. You don't have like you go out into West America, land as far as the eye can see. You don't really have that in Europe. That's not really a thing. And for that reason, I'd say Europe is more uniform. Like you're out in the country, but it feels similar to the way a city with people talking in a stronger accent and so forth. And if it's more beautiful, probably. But um, it's not like America where it's really like it's violent. Like you go out into the boonies of America and you are nowhere. And
Yeah,
that's Europe. You always have the feeling you are somewhere. There's something close to you. There has to be.
yeah. I feel like I could walk across Europe and I wouldn't be that isolated, because like I was thinking about it when I was in London a number of years ago, and I was driving out. I took a cab out to there's a castle that my ancestors built a long time ago that my English ancestors built, and so I was going out there to go see it. And as we were driving through the British countryside, you saw houses and small farms, but it was kind of like driving around a rural neighborhood. You still had houses every 100 200 feet. It wasn't that spread out. Whereas you go out into I go 2 3 miles out of town here in Oklahoma, and it's just like cows and wilderness. And it was interesting when I was in Russia, and I was taking a taxi out to the Russian to the Moscow airport, or when I was in some of the other places, driving, that it seemed a lot more like the wilderness in America, where you had just vast forests or open
Yeah.
fields, just very spread out, because I think the Russians only have 150 million people, for a land area larger than the surface area of Pluto. I mean, it's huge and desolate. And so a lot of it reminded me, once you got outside of Moscow, you had a lot of open space. And same in the western parts of America, a lot of open space. And whenever I've traveled, we were driving when I was a kid. We were driving from Frankfurt to Heidelberg, and I don't remember there being vast amounts of open space once we left Frankfurt. A
No,
little
there's
bit, but
always
not. Yeah, but there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of something going on.
yeah. Like Bavaria, you get a lot of fields. Like you drive to the airport in Munich, it's pretty far away from town. It's at least a half-hour drive. And most of it's fields, and there's not too much to see there. But there's just people. Like there's just activity. That's the real thing. There's always people there. You go out in America, you go on some old state road, you might not see somebody for a couple hours.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
just not the case in Europe. You just always that to me that's probably the most striking thing. You always see people. There's just always something going on.
yeah. I was driving with a friend from Arizona to Idaho, and we are taking the back roads because why not? And we were driving along. I think we were. Oh, I don't know where we were. We were in like Wyoming, I think, and we didn't see any. I mean, we drove for a couple hours and didn't see another car on the highway, and there was no cell phone signal. I was thinking to myself, if we break down, we're dead. You know, and so that was and yeah, I don't see that anywhere in Europe.
And
Uh,
the irony is that when you talk about that specific example, um, in the car industry, Europe is the one that made it mandatory for all new cars sold there to have automatic emergency systems where it calls the fire department when you crash. It's
right.
for that reason, because they're worried that if you're in the middle of nowhere and nobody sees you, you would die otherwise. And that's the irony. If anybody should come up with that, it's America, because that's much more
Right, but
relevant.
the problem is in America, if you're out in the western parts of America where there's a lot of places that just don't have cell phone signal. Your car can try and call for help, but nobody's going to hear you because there's no signal.
Yeah.
And unless you have like a satellite, phone system or something.
Well, that was also a topic in Germany because up until recently, you had some major highways that didn't have cell coverage in some spots. Germany was very slow to roll out cell phones, especially mobile data, like pales in comparison to the US. Like really, like they were living behind the times for years, but not in some cases. Like you go out into Germany, you take a highway that millions of people take a year, and you might not have service the whole way there, or it might be spotty. That's the real topic. It's let's now they've kind of fixed it, but even 3 or 4 years ago, that was a big issue. Meanwhile, you take the subway in most German cities like Munich,
Right.
and you have service the entire time in the tunnel, and you take the subway in New York,
And you got
in
nothing.
America, yeah, the land of data and internet, and you go in the tunnel, nope, airplane mode, and then you have to restart when you go to the station to quickly send that text. Pain in the ass.
Yeah, because I noticed that about Europe. When I've been in Greece or when I've been in where have I taken? I've taken subways in Greece, in London, and in Russia. Yeah, I had data the entire time in the subways. I haven't taken a subway in Ukraine. I'm not. I mean, I would imagine they have subways there. And when I was in Germany, I didn't. I was a kid, so I didn't really have any data there. But I would imagine so. No, that is kind of strange. That yeah, whenever I could be talking to Dad on the phone, he'll be like, "I'm going into the subway. I'll call you when I get out," and because he'll just lose signal down there.
Yeah.
Uh, and when you think of Germany, you think of engineering and you think of problem solving, technical problem solving, and so that's and you're laughing.
Yeah,
Is that a false stereotype?
like it is and it isn't. We German engineering and it's a real thing. They make cool stuff. Look at the technology that the car companies come out with. A lot of weapons, great weapons are made in Germany too. People don't like to talk about that so much sometimes, especially in Europe. But a lot of the big names are in. You got Klaus Maffei,
H and
Heckler&
K,
Koch.
yeah.
Yeah, I love Heckler& Koch. Rheinmetall makes most of the tanks these days. You got a lot of really relevant, and they're coming out with cool technology. Like they're not sitting doing nothing. They're really active. Also, the cars in general. Most other new technology is really being copied off the Germans.
Yeah.
Um, Audi was the first in around 2017, 2018 to really centralize the computing in cars. That didn't really happen before. They came up with it's called the Z-Fast. I studied that in school. Um, it's in central whatever the circuit board, and it didn't really used to be such a thing that the car had such a brain. Either way, on the other hand, most German resources, at least politically and in sort of real life, not case specific technology, get used solving problems. That's what it is. They solve problems. You know why? Because they have them. They have a lot of problems. My favorite example is going to be the Berlin airport.
Okay.
That is just, oh my God, just incredible. So you had three airports in Berlin. The old one, Tempelhof, I think they shut that down years ago. Then you had Schönefeld for East Berlin and Tegel for West Berlin. And Schönefeld, I think, I'm not sure what its status is, but it not so relevant. Tegel was Berlin's main airport for years, 90s and onwards. But it was getting old. It wasn't a modern place. And so they decided, I think beginning of 2000s, they decided, okay, we need a new airport. So we're going to build it pretty much on the site of Tegel, but we're going to make it from scratch. And it's going to be awesome and huge and cutting edge. And that was a great plan, but it didn't work out very well for them. Um, they went like 5 times over budget. They were delayed like 15 years because everything went wrong. You erected the building and you found out, well, the roof doesn't actually, it's not supported properly. It might cave in. And then you found out the fire systems just don't work at all. So they need to be replaced. And then during this whole time, other issues came up. So they left the screens in the airport on the entire time for like 10 years. And then they had to be replaced because that was the end of their service life. And people you just said, like, nobody talked from A to B to C. There was no communication. Nothing really was planned at all. And they've opened it now, and now it has problems. Big surprise. And that's not even the worst thing. Like, Berlin is really special when it comes to that. They had some new bullshit government agency that needed a building in downtown Berlin. So they found some plot of land, they knocked down whatever was there, and they planned to build this building. And same thing as Berlin Airport. I think it's probably 15, 20 years in the making now. And the building's there. They could have moved in 10 years ago. But, there's certification issues and things aren't up to code. And then because it takes so long to build, the code changes.
Right.
So now they say they would have knocked this down. This brand new building that they spend billions on would have been knocked down, except they installed art. And since the art is part of the building, you can't knock it down. But since the building isn't up to code, you can't certify it. So what do? It stands there empty. That's you don't have these problems really in the West as much.
That's I can't, as an
Thankfully,
architect, I can't conceive of that. So is this just a very uniquely German problem, or?
this is the German Behörden. Behörde is the word for yeah, government agency. That's government. They have their own language. Really, I shit you not. I mean, it's German, but nobody understands it. So you go to most of these government websites. There's a button you can click, Easy German, so that you can understand what they're actually saying.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Are you
Just make it
serious?
better.
So
Yeah,
so
it's a real
Germany
thing.
just really loves their bureaucracy, I guess.
Oh, it's a love affair. Yeah, I have I have a famous story about that. I love this. So,
Okay.
my mom is from a city called Essen, North Westphalia, a little bit north of, probably an hour or two north of Cologne. Um, and I don't know what the population is, but it's not tiny. It is a city.
Right.
Probably close to 2 million people, somewhere in that ballpark. And I am not a German resident, but I am a German citizen because my mom's German.
Right.
And so we had two things to do one summer. This was maybe 5 or 10 years ago. I wanted to renew my passport, and she wanted to renew her ID because, unlike me, she does live there, and then you have an ID and a passport. So she
Right.
wanted to renew her ID, right? So we made an appointment probably 4 months in advance at the local Bürgeramt, which is the agency for
Four,
citizens, the
four,
citizen
four
center.
months in advance. Holy crap.
Well, because at that point we were lucky to even get that. That was really the height of immigrant crisis, and so they
Okay.
were very busy in that place,
Okay.
taking care of all that. So we go there, and your point might be for left. It's like the DMV in New York. DMV in Florida is great, I might add. That's a separate topic. In New
Okay.
York, you wait around for a while. It's kind of like New York. So you get there, your appointment is irrelevant. You're allowed to pull a number now that you have your appointment. And you sit there, probably 2 hours. And then my mom and I were ushered into this room, and we go to the desk of one of the, this is another German word I like, Sacharbeiter, which is a thing worker, like somebody who is a task achiever. That's what they call these people. And that's a uniform. That's not just an agency. This is a uniform word. And this woman just the epitome of government agencies. Like my dad always said, like you could look at these German bureaucrats, and all the other bureaucrats around the world are jealous. They wish they could be like that. That's their goal. It keeps them up at night. So she goes and we explain what we want. I need your passport. My mom needs to renew her ID. Okay. Well, there's a problem. You see, you have one appointment. Means you can do one thing. And I think no, actually think back. She ordered her ID online. She had to pick it up. You have to be there in person. So she's like, "Your ID is in the filing cabinet right behind me. I can give you your ID, or we can apply for his passport. But we can't do both things with only one appointment." And so we
Whereas
had to
whereas
make
even in the most bureaucratic parts of America, they'd be like, let's just get you taken care of.
yeah, because we don't want you to come back. That's the
Right.
thing about America. They're lazy. They don't want to deal with your shit again. Get the fuck out of here,
Yeah.
you know? And there, no. And then we had to make another appointment. And I think I got my passport the next year.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
And you
that
can't
that that's what happens.
and you can't be just like, how about you just look the other way and I'll grab my own passport out of the filing cabinet? They'd probably freak over that.
I think that I want to say they would throw you in jail, but Germany is a problem. They don't throw enough people in jail, so I don't know what they would do. But they'd be very concerned.
Oh man.
Yeah, yeah. That's what you know. That's
I
how it goes.
I was at a I was at a scout camp. I was working at a scout camp when I was younger, and we had a volunteer doctor come in. Usually for like a week or two at a time. And my job as the health lodge coordinator for these, it was like a big scout. It was a scout camp that had a bunch of like satellite scout camps. So I was running the main health lodge where all the really fucked up shit happened to
Is
take
that
care of
Tatum
all.
Smart?
No, this is Goshen Scout Camp in Virginia. And anyway, we had this. My job was basically to be the liaison for the visiting doctor and coordinate all of the rescue responses. Like if somebody got in trouble, and we had to coordinate getting a helicopter in or getting an ambulance in or whatnot. And so this one week, it was like a week or two, we had this German doctor, and he was yeah, you can see where this is going. And he was very organized, and the nurse who was there the entire year, she was technically my boss, but I managed her schedule. She was this old, like, marine, not Navy corpsman who worked with the Marines, or I guess she was some sort of medic. She'd had some sort of Marine training, Navy training, out of the military. And so she was organized, but in a very different way. And a lot of my job turned out to be to keep the two of them away from each other, because he was very he was very particular about things. Like, we had an air conditioned room if a patient was really sick, we could put him in the air conditioner room, and that's the only air conditioner in the building and in the health lodge. And so I'd always just leave the door open so that the rest of the building can get air conditioning, especially when we didn't have a patient in there. And he was like, "You must always close the door." It's like, but then the air conditioner doesn't work. Well, you shouldn't have the air conditioner on because there's no patient in there. It's like, it's 95 degrees.
Yeah, what if there was? Yeah.
Yeah, so um and so we'd get into the strangest arguments because he was very German. And I I've always had good experiences with Germans. I don't know very many of them. Uh but I've always had, when I was a kid, I always had good experiences. I remember playing chess with some old German guys in the park. But yeah, no, I think that America wishes it had a German bureaucracy, and I think most Americans don't want a German bureaucracy. and I think that causes a lot of clashes. So,
Nobody wants a German bureaucracy.
mm,
Germans don't want a German bureaucracy. Germans hate the German bureaucracy, but they are the German bureaucracy, and that's the problem.
is it just like genetic or something where they just have to be that way, or
I
cultural,
mean,
like probably?
to me, I saw something really interesting, Paco. About yeah, in February this year, actually, I took a trip to Singapore. Never been there before, and Singapore, especially, you know, I was interested to go there in COVID above all because like you want to see totalitarianism that is like top 10 in the world, you know? Like they really like they make the Germans look American. And that's really what I wanted to see there. And that was such an accurate way to describe that. In fact, I was when I went back to Germany after, I was like, oh my God, everybody's so relaxed here. No, because you walk in and, even to get there, you have not just some arrival form, but like a full online thing, and then they issue you a QR code, and your application is approved, and then it's this and that, and everything I noticed in Singapore, kind of like the army, but just also just so not because they have an abbreviation for everything. They're addicted to their acronyms. The EP whatever, like electronic passenger health locator form, and that's standard. But then everything, like you want to take the subway. It's not called the subway. It's called the MRT, the Mass Rapid Transit. And the ticket is not a ticket machine. It's not a vending machine. It's it's like a VTB or whatever, you know. And
Yeah,
and and you're looking through the instructions to do stuff, and it's like go to the VBT to get your MRT pass. Like I don't even know, and you want to shoot yourself. Like you want to go. It drives you crazy. And Germany isn't that bad in comparison. It made me kind of see the upside there. So
yeah,
I don't know if it's so much the German genetics or if it's just how they live their life. Like Singapore is a really young country, and that's how they work, and they're so different from the rest of Asia. Asia is known to be a very chaotic place, and then you go there, this little city state, and magically it's just
just
Germany on steroids.
yeah. Well,
Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did like it, subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends. You can also check out my website, bobtheorc.com, where you can download a free copy of my dad's book and some other things. Have a nice day. Goodbye.